Hey guys, welcome back. Ever since Halo 2 allowed me to switch my Spartan out for an Elite, armor customization has been one of my favourite elements of the Halo experience as a whole. If you ask me, allowing players to express themselves within the aesthetics of the Halo universe was one of the smartest decisions ever made for the franchise. And so, today, I thought we'd celebrate that by taking a look at the evolution of Halo's armor customization. I'm going to be quick and get straight to the point with this intro, but just do note that this video, for the sake of time, will focus primarily on armor customization for both Spartans and Elites. I'm not going to be covering vehicle customization or weapon customization or anything like that. So, with that little disclaimer out of the way, let's begin. Halo's love affair with customization dates all the way back to the beginning. Halo Combat Evolved, where players were able to customize the colour of their Mark V Spartans from a selection of 18 total colours for multiplayer. Now, if you want to get pedantic, technically, given that you could name your player profile and that each player profile only had one Spartan tied to it, I guess by extension that means you were kind of naming your Spartan. But come on, let's not split hairs this early on in the video. Halo Combat Evolved's customization was nothing extraordinary, but it laid the groundwork for a system that would become a franchise staple. With Halo 2, Bungie began to ramp up player expression. There were two major things that came with this era of Halo. Firstly, Xbox Live, allowing players to matchmake for multiplayer games and start slaying randoms over the internet at the click of a button. And secondly, the Arbiter, for the first time allowing the player to play as an Elite. And both of these had radical effects on customization. Without a doubt, Halo 2's most notable addition was playable Elites. Playing as a hingehead was now not only possible in campaign, but also multiplayer as well, adding an entirely new dynamic to player expression. Customizable emblems were also added, which allowed players to create a unique icon from a combination of various foreground and background symbols and logos from both Halo and Bungie culture that would show above their heads in-game for allies, allowing for ally identification without having to read a name. These emblems also appeared on your Spartan or Elite's body and could have their primary, secondary, and tertiary colours customized. And armor customization also received a similar treatment. Instead of having just one solid colour for your character, you now had the option to customize both your primary and secondary colours, which gives your Spartan or Elite a far greater number of unique colour combinations to show off on the battlefield. But it was Halo 3 where Bungie really kicked player customization into overdrive. You could now customize your Spartan and Elite with custom pieces of armor, helmets, shoulder pads, and chest pieces, allowing for a total of 5,632 different Spartan armor combinations and 625 different Elite combinations. This bred an entirely new era of player expression, led to millions of hours of content being made about the armor, and created an entire culture of fans who just loved creating custom Spartans and Elites. It also made it clear that player expression in Halo was not just a Spartan thing. Elites were equally as important in both the eyes of Bungie and also the players. And the way these armor pieces were unlocked only complemented this. Challenges, achievements, and rank rewards. Every piece of armor that you wore, you earned. You earned the right to show off EOD because you completed the game on Legendary. You earned the right to show off Hayabusa because you found all 13 hidden skulls in the campaign. You earned the right to show off your Commando helmet because you managed to get an overkill. You earned the right to show off Rogue because you hit Lieutenant in multiplayer. And you earned the right to wear a goddamn katana on your back because you unlocked all the other achievements. How meritocratic the armor was in Halo 3 gave it value beyond any price tag, and it's why so many have such fond memories of it. Its value was inherent, not slapped on after the fact. But that wasn't all Halo 3 had to offer. There also existed two mythical customization pieces that transcended these standard unlocks: Flaming Helmet and Recon. Flaming Helmet was only granted to Bungie employees, as was the Recon armor, but unlike the Flaming Helmet, it was possible for certain community members to receive Recon as a gift from Bungie themselves. Now, who it was granted to and why differed entirely. It was a case-by-case basis. It ranged from a guy who got killed by a traffic cone, and Walshy, the Halo pro and famed esports legend, to Digital Fear, the creator of Arby and the Chief, and people who matched and beat Bungie employees on Bungie Day in matchmaking, and more. There was no surefire way to unlock Recon. Although, that said, there were tons of conspiracy theories passed around the community like Chinese whispers back in the day that supposedly explained how to get it. However, most of these involve just spamming Bungie employees with Xbox Live messages saying, "Can I has Recon plus," and then like 15,000 Zs at the end. Needless to say, this didn't work. Back in the heyday of Halo 3, there was an entire culture built around this set of armor. It's something that I've never seen any game replicate since, and it just goes to show the absolute geniuses that Bungie were. Matching someone with Recon was akin to going to Walmart and just bumping into Tom Cruise. It was a big deal. If you had the legendary Recon armor, you were essentially an in-game celebrity. However, over time, this did change. Eventually, Bungie added a means for everyone to unlock Recon toward the end of Halo 3's lifecycle. With the addition of the Vidmaster achievements, which were released in conjunction with ODST, anybody who finished all 7 Vidmaster challenges unlocked the mythical Recon armor for themselves. And these challenges were as follows. Light Switch, reach the rank of Lieutenant in any playlist. Annual, complete the final level of Halo 3 on 4-player Legendary with the Iron Skull enabled and with everybody in Ghosts. 7 on 7. Enter into a ranked or social playlist with 7 XP on the 7th of the month. Brain Pan, find all the hidden skulls on the mythic maps. Endure, pass the 4th set in 4-player heroic firefight co-op on any level. Deja Vu, complete Coastal Highway on 4-player Legendary with the Iron Skull enabled and without using the Warthog or Scorpion. And Classic, finish any campaign level on Legendary solo without shooting or throwing a grenade, and you also can't power slide or honk the horn in the Warthog because they both use the same inputs. Although the Recon armor was now far more accessible, it still felt like it had great value because these challenges were not easy. But then, finally, when 343 took over the Halo franchise in 2012, they just handed Recon out to everybody for free, without having to do anything. Bit of a weird way to send Halo 3 out. That said though, Halo 3 was a watershed game for many reasons. Customization absolutely included. It's hard to imagine where we'd be today without this game. In 2009, just 2 years into Halo 3's lifecycle, Bungie released the spin-off, Halo 3 ODST, and we got our first taste of ODST customization. Each ODST character from the campaign, along with a few variations of their armor and looks, were unlockable via achievements and could be used in Firefight. You could also unlock the renowned Sigma male Sergeant Avery Johnson to play as in Firefight as well, but he was locked to a pre-order bonus. You could also choose to equip or unequip the helmets of all of the ODSTs too, besides Rookie, who could only ever have his helmet on, and Johnson, who could only ever have it off because, after all, who the hell would want to hide Johnson's face? With Halo Reach, Bungie only further continued to expand Halo's armor customization suite. Building directly off the back of Halo 3, Reach featured infinitely more customization options. Where Halo 3 was limited to helmet, shoulders, and chest, Reach let you customize your Spartan's helmet, helmet attachments, visor, shoulders, chest, wrist, thigh utility, knee guards, voice, and armor effect. And in addition to all of that, some of the chest plates in this game even came with a robotic prosthetic arm. This was armor customization evolved. There were quite literally billions of potential armor permutations in Reach, with tons of different styles, looks, and aesthetics to create. Elite customization, however, was treated a bit differently. Now, depending on how you look at it, Reach's Elite customization could be seen as a bit of a step back compared to Halo 3. Gone were the days of piece-by-piece customization for them like the Spartans. Instead, you now unlocked armor presets that corresponded to individual elite ranks. These offered far more curated overall looks, but with far less creative freedom, which, for me personally, was a definite step back. However, the changes and additions to the armors themselves only constituted half of Reach's customization evolution. The other half came from the new ways that armor was unlocked. There were still some armors unlockable via achievements, albeit with the need to go through the awkward procedure of manually unlocking them in the new Halo Waypoint app that was kinda just slapped on top of Reach, but the bulk of Reach's armors were a part of the armory and were integrated into the new credit system. These credits acted as both XP and a currency, and were earned by completing matchmaking games, performing well in them, and also by getting lucky on the post-game slot machine. But then, you also got credits for playing campaign, custom games, Forge, and Firefight, and then on top of that for completing challenges and also finishing combinations that tied into all of the above modes as well. Not only did they level you up through the progression system's many ranks and also rank grades, but they could also be spent as a currency in the armory, used to buy armor. The way it worked was you unlocked the ability to purchase armor as you went through the ranks, but you then had to actually spend the credits that you'd earned and saved up on the armor pieces to wear them, so there was a degree of personal preference integrated into the unlock path. This, combined with the sheer volume of cosmetics that Reach had to offer, ensured that no two Spartans ever looked the same, especially early on when the game just came out and everyone was relatively the same rank. Some people chose to just spend their credits the second they got them, unlocking everything they possibly could, whereas others, like myself, chose to save up their credits for the more expensive purchases like inclement weather. Everyone's unlock path was different, it was unique to them, which in turn made everyone stand out more. The elite armor in Reach was unlocked in a far more mundane manner though. Besides Officer, which was a heroic and legendary edition exclusive, they were all just auto-unlocked when you hit a certain rank. But there was also one rather mythic piece of armor in Halo Reach as well that was rarely seen: the Haunted Helmet. Costing only 1 credit, Haunted was a secret helmet attachment for the pilot helmet featuring a rather ominous skull staring through the visor. Now, this attachment didn't show up in the armory at all until 2 specific prerequisites were met. You had to have both purchased every single other cosmetic in the game, and also have completed the absurdly long grind to reach the final rank, Inheritor. Although not quite as legendary as Halo 3's Recon armor, Haunted is still absolutely iconic in its own right, and for quite a while after Reach's release, was truly mythical. It was a sight to behold if you happened to run into somebody wearing it. Credits were a universal system in Halo Reach that made the entire game feel like one fluid ecosystem and ensured that no kind of player was excluded from progressing. And what only added to this further was the fact that your own Spartan was Noble 6, the protagonist in the campaign. Whatever armor you wore in multiplayer, you also wore in campaign and in the cutscenes, which really made the player feel like they were a part of the universe. Overall, Reach's entire customization ecosystem was a tremendously well thought out and complete package, something that no Halo game since can really be described as. With Halo 4, the still forming 343 Industries decided to come out swinging with their first proper foray into Halo and change an element of armor customization that transcended the mere piece-by-piece customization: the Mjolnir art style itself. This was explained canonically as the Spartan 4s that we were now playing as wearing Gen 2 Mjolnir over the Gen 1 Mjolnir that we were used to from the Bungie days, and although this change in the aesthetic of the Spartans was enjoyed by some, I think it's fair to say that many weren't exactly fond of it, which I think caused people to judge Halo 4's customization rather harshly by proxy. Of course, there was the odd diamond armor set in the rough, but for the most part, the overall aesthetic change just didn't seem like a natural progression of the style that Bungie had established in the previous Halo titles. But how did Halo 4's customization actually stack up against the rest? Well, it was rather mixed. It was nowhere near as bad as many believed, but at the same time, it was a bit of a step down from the beloved advancements that were made with Halo Reach. In Halo 4, you can customize your Spartan's helmet, chest, shoulders, forearms, legs, and also skins for all of them, as well as your visor color. Helmet attachments, armor effects, and voice customization were dropped, as also was another element of Halo's customization that had been a staple since 2004, Elite customization. In keeping with every single one of their games, 343 removed playable elites, and with them, Elite customization. A decision that an extremely large number of fans, myself absolutely included, are still very unhappy with. Anyway, despite cutting a number of fan-favourite customization features in their debut game, 343 did do some really interesting things with Halo 4's customization. Armor skins were added, which were essentially patterns on armor pieces that slightly altered their look, but that was about it for new additions. The way most of this armor was unlocked, however, was absolutely fantastic. Halo 4's unlock system was essentially an expanded version of Halo 3's unlock system, with elements of Reach sprinkled in for good measure as well. Halo 4 had a shitload of armor to unlock, and a shitload of ways to unlock it. Of course, there were your standard level-based unlocks as a part of the progression system, but incorporated into that progression system was an entirely new system called Specializations. So Halo 4 had 130 total levels. The first 50 were just progressed as normal, but for each 10 levels of the final 80, you had to select one of 8 specializations to progress through, which were essentially themed progression paths that were centered around a specific set of armor, for example, Pathfinder, or Rogue, or Wetwork, and once the specialization was completed, you unlocked the armor that it was named after. Then, there was the armor unlocked via achievements and commendations, feeding into Halo 4's radically expanded commendation system. In Reach, commendations were far more subtle and kind of in the background compared to Halo 4's, which functioned very similar to Call of Duty's traditional challenges. There were commendations for literally everything. Completing campaign levels, Spartan Ops levels, killing specific enemies, getting X number of kills with specific weapons and vehicles, getting X number of kills with a specific faction's weapons and vehicles, mode-specific feats and victories, getting certain medals X number of times, and much, much more. This was a fantastic system, and one that, for some reason, hasn't seen the light of day since Halo 4. And upon completing many of these commendations and commendation categories, you'd be rewarded with armor. This was such a deep system that always made you feel like you had something to grind for. It's such a shame that it was never really brought back, at least in this style. Some armor in Halo 4 was even unlocked outside of the game. Foreigner glyph codes could be found in terminals as part of various alternate reality games, and also in a few more ways as well, and could be input into a terminal in the Halo Waypoint app, unlocking a few pieces of armor and also emblems, as well as granting XP, but at times, some codes required other prerequisites to actually work, like, for example, play X number of games or finish the campaign on Legendary. Some armor was also granted for hitting certain waypoint milestones as well, and on the topic of Legendary campaign actually, you unlocked the iconic Mark 6 armor for beating the game on Legendary. And then of course there were your typical pre-order exclusive armors, limited edition exclusive armors like Photos, and also promotional tie-in armors as well for buying things like action figures too. And then, finally, Halo 4 made Halo history by being the first game in the entire series to actually add new armor post-launch, via the Champions Bundle DLC, which was available for 800 Microsoft points. That's a phrase I've not said in a long time. This DLC included the Ricochet armor set, Prefect armor set, ODST armor set, and Mark 5 armor set. Although Halo 4 made some pretty big missteps when it came to customization, it's really hard to deny how great both the volume of content and the means of unlocking it was in this game. Now, talking about the Master Chief Collection's customization might get a bit tricky because of how multifaceted this game is, but firstly, let's take a brief look at how the customization was when the game initially released. Well, to cut a long story short, it was shit. Each game in the MCC, so at the time, Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4, came with no piece-by-piece customization. Instead, all you could do was select pre-made sets of armor that were literally just full sets. So, for example, Scout in Halo 3 was just Scout helmet, shoulders, and body. There were also numerous missing pieces of armor, notably from Halo 4, and all the armor that was present was just unlocked by default for every game, so nothing had any value anymore because everyone was just given it for free. And this included the new armor that was added with Halo 2 Anniversary as well. Now, because H2A multiplayer was essentially just a modified version of Halo 4, the armor that we got was a part of Halo 4's Mjolnir aesthetic and not Bungie's. However, Halo 2 Anniversary is the only project released during 343's entire tenure to actually feature playable elites, who were also in the Halo 4 art style, and also got 3 new sets of armor. The only cool thing that 343 did with MCC's customization at launch was actually give us the flaming helmet in Halo 3, but besides that, and the Halo 2 Anniversary armor, it was a substantial downgrade all round. And this is the point where we skip 4 years into the future to when 343 finally returned to fix MCC, and in doing so, also finally unlocked armor customization for Halo 2 Anniversary, Halo 3, and Halo 4, giving all of them piece-by-piece customization after a long wait. Then, in 2019, when Reach was added and the entire collection was brought to PC, a new era of the Master Chief Collection began. Not only was a progression system finally added, but so was a semi-conventional Battle Pass system, which was used to distribute all future armor unlocks. Each tier was leveled by spending 1 season point, which you were given for leveling up. 1 level equals 1 season point. They also later added challenges that gave you season points as well. But gone were the days of Reach's traditional armory unlock system. Now, all the Reach armor was unlocked as a part of a hyperlinear battle pass, which introduced a problem that Reach's armory was specifically designed to circumvent. Everybody unlocked the cosmetics in the same order, at the same pace, and so for so long, everyone's Spartans just looked the same. 343 did eventually try and circumvent this by allowing you to unlock tiers on a page in any order that you wanted, but it was still nowhere near as good as Reach's armory. However, where MCC really started to come into its own was with its seasonal updates. With most seasons came a new battle pass, the contents of which began to expand customization for almost every game in the collection. With Season 2 came Halo Combat Evolved Visor customization, which was the first official form of armor customization introduced for Halo 1. With Season 3 came visor customization for Halo 3 Spartans, as well as the introduction of customizable ODSTs for Firefight, which was also added to MCC when ODST launched on PC. Season 5 brought with it the Cut Akis and Mariner helmets for Reach, which Bungie originally planned to add to the game as DLC back in the day, but were unable to do so due to technical limitations, along with a large expansion of Halo 3's customization. Not only could you now customize your Halo 3 Spartan's arms, legs, and undersuit, but also a large number of Halo Online's armor was ported over, featuring a Gen 2 styled aesthetic. Season 6 enhanced Halo 3's new visor customization by adding Halo's first ever animated visors, in addition to another new customization option for the game: backpacks, which came in conjunction with the season's thematic armor, which were variants of the ODST armor worn by Fireteam Raven from the arcade game. And it was around this point where a new means of unlocking cosmetics was introduced to the game: the Exchange. Now, the Exchange at first just seems like a typical game item store. It's basically a store with rotating items, however, they can only be purchased for season points. There's no microtransactions here, thank God. Season 7 was the first time in almost a decade that playable elites got any love, with a bunch of armor sets from Halo Online being ported over to Halo 3. But that wasn't all. Halo 4 finally got its DLC armor that we spoke about earlier, which was never added to MCC back in the day for some reason, as well as the new addition of armor effects which were identical to Reach's, and also the Keystone helmet, the precursor to Halo Infinite's gorgeous Mark 7. And then, for the final season, at least the final one as of writing this video, we got our first taste of Halo Infinite's Fractures with a set of non-canon, mythical-inspired armor sets for Halo 3, ranging from ancient Roman-inspired armors to ancient Greek, and even my favourites, the dark, medieval, gothic armors. But then there's a few other pieces of armor that have been added to the collection as well, outside of seasonal updates or battle passes. Most notably, the long-loved SPI armor, which was first seen on the cover of Ghosts of Onyx back in 2006, and is now wearable in Halo 3, and also the Orion armor for Halo 2 Anniversary, which was the armor that Bungie originally designed for Chief that was only ever seen in the Macworld 1999 gameplay demo for Halo CE. And if you ask me, this is the single greatest addition to customization that 343 have made. This armor was once mythical. To actually have it be unlockable and wearable is quite something, and I think it speaks volumes to MCC's continued support and success, overcoming its rather rough beginning and turning into a haven of customization and player expression. But now, we have to talk about Halo 5 Guardians, and this is where customization took less of a step back and more of a getting blasted out of a Mac cannon back. Not only was the way that armor was unlocked in Halo 5 a disaster, but for the first time ever, so were the customization options. Helmet, visor, body. That was it. No forearms, utility, legs, knees, attachments, armor effects, or even individual shoulders. Helmet, visor, and body, which encompassed everything from the neck down, were all that you could customize in this game. And hell, you couldn't even customize your colors properly at launch. All you could do was select from a bunch of pre-made color palettes that were designed by 343. The traditional color system had been entirely removed. Now, although it did get added back later in an update, this was a terrible design decision and an ominously foreshadowing one in hindsight. Needless to say, playable elites were still left in the dust as well, but honestly, that was the least of this game's problems. Halo 5 was also the first Halo game since Halo 3 to have absolutely zero armor rewards from campaign whatsoever, even for completing it on Legendary. You got nothing. It also had 0 level-based unlocks, 0 achievement-based unlocks, 0 challenge-based unlocks, and 0 commendation-based unlocks whatsoever for the armor. Absolutely nothing. And what's funny is the Halo 5 beta actually did have level-based armor unlocks, but in the retail game, they were nowhere to be seen. The only way you could get armor in Halo 5 was via monetized RNG loot crates called Rec Packs. So they could fit with this new RNG loot crate approach of armor unlocking, each piece of armor was also given an arbitrary rarity rating, from common to mythic, color-coded accordingly just like almost every other game on the market. But you know what? It's quite funny. Halo 5 was the first time that armor had been given an explicit rarity rating, and yet, because of how it was unlocked, none of the armor ever felt rare. None of it had that Halo 3 Recon or Halo Reach Haunted vibe about it. So there were 3 main styles of Rec Pack: Bronze, Silver, and Gold, all of which could be unlocked via Rec Points, which were earned through gameplay, or, of course, just straight up purchased using any currency of your choice. Some armor, rare and higher, was locked to Silver and Gold packs, but there was no rhyme or reason to what you got in these packs, just pure, unfiltered randomness, and so, nothing really had any real value. I could spend £100 or tens of hours of gameplay's worth of Rec Points and never get a single mythic, whereas Jimmy over there could just happen to pull one in his first gold pack. Because of this inherent randomness, never in Halo 5 did I look at someone's armor and think, wow, holy shit, that's rare. Because it wasn't. For all I knew, they just got lucky. However, there was one exception to this rule: the Achilles armor. So, Halo 5 introduced Spartan companies, which were essentially a modified version of Halo 2's clan system that included clan-based challenges, and for completing these challenges, as a clan, you all received the Achilles armor set, which looked fantastic and was a great idea, but that was all. It led to pretty toxic gameplay in Warzone, where clans would just run as a team of 12 and spawn kill opposing teams to harvest kills for challenges. It was a great idea, just not the best execution. And then there was the Heliosquill armor as well, which was originally only unlocked by completing all of the MCC games on Legendary, but later was added to the loot crates, which, needless to say, pissed a lot of people off. Over its lifespan, Halo 5 added a plethora of new armor as a part of its live service system, almost all of which was unlocked via rec packs, with one exception, the classic Reach helmet pack. Possibly as a sort of litmus test for Halo Infinite, 343 released a pack of helmets directly ported over from Halo Reach, retaining their aesthetic and the game's art style one-to-one, which was something that fans had been begging for thanks to Halo 5 just going even further into the rather contentious art style direction of Halo 4. Aesthetically, this pack was like a breath of fresh air, but it could only be unlocked via either real-life money or 150,000 rec points, which was a pretty large ask. But armor wasn't the only form of customization that Halo 5 butchered. It also butchered the emblems as well. Gone were the days of making your own highly personal customized emblem from primary, secondary, and sometimes even tertiary emblem layers and colors. Now you simply unlocked uncustomizable, set-in-stone pictures that also came with a title card, which granted was kinda cool. The emblem system is basically identical to Modern Warfare 2's emblem and title card system, except in Halo 5, you can't separate an emblem from its title card. Overall, Halo 5 was a radical step in the wrong direction for Halo's beloved armor customization system, and was one of the game's primary points of criticism. Fans were just frustrated at how clearly Halo 5's monetization system had impeded on this staple beloved feature of the franchise. So, with that said, how did 343 respond to these failures? Halo Infinite, 343's latest, greatest, and first ever free-to-play Halo game. When it comes to customization, Halo Infinite is a very mixed and very confusing bag. In case you weren't already aware, Infinite does not feature playable elites, making it now 12 years since the last mainline Halo to release with them, with 343's excuse this time being that Halo Infinite is a Spartan story. Now, take from that what you will. But when it comes to Spartan customization, there was clearly a massive effort made to answer the abundance of feedback that they got from Halo 5. Halo Infinite features a suite of customization options far more in line with Halo Reach. However, it does also have some further additions. You can customize your helmet, helmet attachments, visor, individual shoulders, chest, wrist, hip utility, knee pads, prosthetics, and armor effects, in addition to leg prosthetics, gloves, mythic effects, Spartan cores, kits, and coatings, all of which were new. So let's look at some of these new customization options. Spartan cores separate armor between styles, aesthetics, and marks, but for some peculiar reason, are not mix and matchable as of making this video. So if you want to wear a Reach helmet with Mark 7 shoulders, well, you can't. You just can't. The current armor cores are Mark 5B from Reach, Mark 7, Rakshasa, and then 2 non-canon Fracture cores introduced as part of live service events, Yoroi and Eagle Strike. Thankfully though, there are plans to allow for cross-core customization in the near future. Armor kits are basically armor presets that give you an almost one-to-one look with a certain canon character. So, for example, Emil. Armor, colors, and color palettes are all almost identical to their campaign character counterparts. And then we have armor coatings. So, armor coatings are, for all intents and purposes, just 343's way of monetizing colors. Halo Infinite does not feature your staple Halo primary, secondary, and tertiary color customization. Instead, you have to earn or purchase, and in most cases purchase, coatings to customize your Spartan's color. These coatings are developer-crafted color combos that you have zero control over, besides equipping and unequipping. They said that the reason for taking away our color customization options and replacing them with a super monetized replacement was to allow for them to craft hyper-polished color setups that were never possible before. And although there are definitely a few coatings that could not be created in previous games, that doesn't mean they have to be turbo monetized. And broadly speaking, a large majority of the coatings that have been added so far and locked behind a paywall have just been color combinations that we could make for free in every previous Halo game. 343 currently have no plans to roll back to the previous color system, and honestly, given how intrinsically monetized coatings are and the fact that I can almost guarantee that they were designed purely with monetization in mind, I strongly doubt that they ever will do. Going back to armors though, the way that armors are unlocked in Halo Infinite is multifaceted. Despite the campaign alone costing a full $60 or £50, there's no legendary completion reward whatsoever, nor is there any armor to unlock from it at all. From achievements, by finding it in the open world, absolutely nothing at all, despite the fact that you actually do find sets of armor in the open world, you just don't get to unlock them. Funnily enough, some of those sets of armors are actually locked behind a paywall. Instead, you can find stances, armor coatings, weapon coatings, and emblems, but honestly, most of that is just filler content or stuff that should really be free anyway. Instead, armor is either locked behind a litany of battle passes, or behind a hard paywall in the item store. Halo Infinite features no progression system, so the only way to unlock armor is by leveling the battle pass, with a large majority of the armor in fact being locked behind the premium paid-for battle pass, or requiring you to whip out your credit card and take out a payday loan to afford the items that are locked to the store. However, there are some free options for armor as well. As a part of Halo Infinite's live service system, each season comes with a plethora of events, which, although they do come with a bunch of new store offerings, something that is now even advertised in the trailers for them, they do also come with their own entirely free battle pass, and as of late, these event passes have been really good. Although I wrote that before the Eagle Strike pass came out, and that one isn't so great, so... However, despite all of this, the way that you progress through the game's battle passes isn't so good. There's not only no progression system, but there's also no per-match XP in Halo Infinite either, and so the only way to progress is by completing repetitive challenges that twist and contort how you play the game, often in extremely unnatural ways, and ways that are in fact detrimental to the game and other players' experience in it. It's clear that very little thought was put into this system besides how to monetize it. When Halo 3, Halo Reach, and Halo 4 all got it so right in 3 totally different ways, it just seems crazy to me that Halo Infinite's system is like this. There is also one further free reward. For completing all of your weekly challenges, and then also the capstone challenge at the end of those challenges, you unlock the free weekly reward, which typically is an emblem, but it can also be a coating, a stance, or rarely even a piece of armor. And when it comes to the store, not much really needs to be said. It's your typical zero thought required live service game item store, complete with credit packs to buy with bestseller falsely slapped on the most expensive pack to try and manipulate people into spending as much as possible. And of course, you can't buy the precise amount of credits that you need for an item. You can only buy them in conveniently predetermined amounts, which often means that you have to buy 2 packs, or a bigger pack and a more expensive pack than what you actually need to get an item that you want. Granted, with Season 2, 343 did add the ability to earn credits via the Battle Pass, but you can only do this if you buy the Battle Pass, and all you get per season is, I believe, 1,000 credits. Now, for reference, buying a full armor set from the store is at a minimum 1,200 credits, or roughly $12, so one entire season isn't enough to get a full armor set. At the end of the day, this store still employs your typical manipulative, FOMO-inducing, shallow methods of extracting money from you for something that realistically should be earnable via gameplay. Armor and cosmetics in this game are also given a similar rarity rating to Halo 5 as well, except this time, it has absolutely no meaning. It seems as though the rarities, from epic to common, are just distributed at pure random with no rhyme nor reason. By once again applying a hard value to cosmetics, I once again just feel like armor pieces and the like lose their value. If I see someone on the battlefield with a cool looking helmet, I don't think, wow, that looks sick, I wonder what that player had to do to earn that helmet. No, I instead think, wow, I wonder how much that player spent to get that helmet. Back in the day, it felt like everyone had a story behind their favourite piece of armor and how they unlocked it. I mean, hell, I still find myself reciting the story of how I got Katana in Halo 3 even today. But when all you have to do to get a piece of armor is get your credit card out, that story can't exist. There's no depth to it. So Halo Infinite is a very mixed and, like I said, very confusing bag. In terms of what you can actually customize, Infinite is fantastic. It's a massive step in the right direction, and the visual aesthetic of the armor in this game is absolutely beautiful. I cannot stress how much 343 have nailed the designs of Infinite's armor and cosmetics. But then, simultaneously, I also can't stress how much 343 have massively dropped the ball when it comes to unlocking it all. This game is full of fantastic ingredients, but the way they were all put together is, frankly, terrible. And that is the evolution of Halo's armor customization, from incredibly humble beginnings to a core element of the Halo experience. It's hard to imagine where the franchise would be nowadays without its industry-defining player expression. And so, I hope you guys enjoyed. I want to give a massive thank you to Wisefish for editing this absolute behemoth of a video. If you somehow haven't done already, go and check his channel out, the link is in the description. And I also want to give a massive thank you to all of my amazing patrons for the continued support over there, as per usual. Thank you all so much, and thank you all so much for watching. New video coming tomorrow, as of the day of uploading this video, so keep your eyes peeled for that one, and I'll catch you all in the next one.